Well, happy Valentine's Day and welcome to the last day of the 11th annual Transforming the Teaching and Learning Environment Virtual Conference presented by Northeastern State University. The session today is one of 60 sessions we've had in the conference through about another 2 hours today. I'm Bob Ailes. I'm your moderator for the session. Don't forget, our sessions are all closed captioned. We have Michelle typing up the captions like crazy. To view the caption, simply click on the closed caption icon on the toolbar at the bottom of the screen. Today's session is Removing Barriers Using Presentations in an Asynchronous Online Course. And we are fortunate to have with us Kendra Mann, who's an Associate Lecturer of Communication Studies at Ball State University. And she also teaches Exploration of Communication Studies, Senior Seminar, Interviewing, and Leadership online. Stays pretty busy. And the research interest is in the area of instructional communication, specifically focusing on immediacy building in an online learning environment, how appropriate. Kendra, let me turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Bob. And thanks for inviting us to speak at this conference. Unfortunately, my colleague, Abby Erpelding, is kind of a co-creator of this presentation, and she is ill today, so I'm going it alone. I ran through it earlier, and it was not as long as I had hoped on my own, so I'm hoping to maybe hear from some of you towards the end, your experience with presentations. Okay, so just a quick preview of what we'll be talking about. I was going to go over just some background of how this came about and some barriers that we have faced while moving some of our courses online. I'm going to talk about specifically our introductory public speaking course, and then share with you a sample introduction video assignment that we use and we love. And then a few presentation tools that are great for your students giving presentations, or even for instructors or professors like myself making videos or other immediacy building kind of tools for the classroom. And then I wanted to hear from some of you, like I mentioned earlier, what your experience is, and then we can sum up with any questions. I can answer any questions for you. Okay, so I wanted to start by talking about our move from traditional courses to online. So about 5 years ago, our department was kind of lagging in the online learning department. We didn't have very many courses available online. At that time, we'd only created like 2, and we were learning there was just really a need, and we were kind of missing out on some opportunities for courses online. So one of our largest courses is the Introductory Public Speaking course at Ball State. It services every single student. They have to take it as part of our core curriculum class. And a lot of students like to take that over the summer. And we also have a lot of students that are not Ball State on-campus students. So there's some students that take all of their courses online. So we really had to make that adaptation quickly and move that course online. And we struggled with it because we were like, well, how do they do public speaking in an online course? Like, how are they going to be speaking publicly? So what we did is we required them to still have an audience, but it was just a recorded presentation with a live audience. And we required them to have 6 audience members, which sometimes was challenging for students. I would often get emails like, I don't even know 6 people that can come and watch my presentation. So often they would have to find neighbors or friends down the hall in their dorms or wherever to watch their presentation. It's usually family members though, and it's my favorite when I get to see their family members. So we also had some challenges. People were not having audience members or their audience. I actually had in one class, their audience would leave the room, and they admitted this to me later, that they would like sneak out during the presentation so they didn't have to sit through it. And we were like, what is going on? So one of the ways we dealt with that was we had them pan around the room and show their grandma and their parents and their friends sitting in the living room watching them before they started their presentation. And then also at the end, we would have them kind of pan back around the room so we could see their audience. And that became kind of one of my favorite parts of their speeches. I loved seeing grandma sitting in the corner just so proud after their presentation. And what we used for this, we had them all do YouTube at the time. And I still use YouTube in my courses. I know some professors have them directly upload their videos from Canvas, the tool within Canvas to upload the videos. But I still really like YouTube because even though it's not the greatest, it does have closed captioning options available. And at our university, we don't have the software unless we have a student that has need for it or needs course accommodations. Then they will have a person caption all the videos for them. So at the time, YouTube, and it still is for me, the best option to have them record their videos. We had them record them as unlisted instead of public because we didn't want anyone trolling on their videos. And then also, you don't want it to be private because then you can't view them. But it was an easy way for them to record them and then upload them to the LMS, which we use Canvas at Ball State. So along with our moving this class online, we found it important to scale their speeches. And what I mean by that is start off kind of low stakes with a very low points speech. And I like to do an introduction speech, and then they kind of build as we go throughout the course. We might add in more requirements for the speech. Maybe we're going to focus more on transitions and more on their introduction and their conclusions. And then as they go through the course, the points also increase. So the stakes get a little bit higher. But I love to start off with something kind of low stakes, lower points, just to get their feet wet using technology, because I think a lot of us, or at least I had assumed that my students would be kind of good at technology, right? Because they're like digital natives and they grew up with technology, but that's not always the case. Some of them don't have comfort level recording videos. They didn't even know what program to use or how to get a YouTube account, which you just have to have a Google account. But those were some of the barriers that we had to kind of overcome. And I'm gonna share with you a specific assignment that we use and love, and that is our sample introduction speech assignment. So we just call it like the About Me speech, but it's basically show and tell. And I think that's why students love it so much. So the students do introduce themselves briefly. They talk about maybe their major, their name, what year they are at Ball State. But then the goal of the presentation is for them to share 3 objects with us. And I have them do this in the discussion thread so that we can all view them. And it's a good way for students to get to know each other. It's a great way for you to get to know your students. We make it only worth, I keep saying we in this presentation because my colleague Abby Erpolding and I, we teach a lot of the same classes, and we both use this speech. So I think a lot of my students, I've even had feedback that they don't feel comfortable talking about themselves or they didn't know what to talk about. So instead of just having a generic welcome speech or about me speech, I really liked focusing it on 3 physical objects that they can share about themselves. And I've learned so much about them. I adore this assignment. People will share things like jewelry that was given as a really sentimental gift from a loved one that's now passed or something, or someone will share their camera that was a gift from their grandfather and now they're really into photography and they want to pursue that. I've had people share like awards or trophies that they're really proud of. So it's a really great way to still get to know your students, but it just kind of focuses their attention on something other than themselves, but these objects. Okay, so that's something I think that you can incorporate into any class. It doesn't just have to be public speaking. We started using this in our public speaking courses, but I've used it in other courses as
Kid,
well.
do you want to have the K's Parmesan chips, or do you want the stuff we had yesterday? If you want the stuff from yesterday, then we both have to have it because it's 2 servings per pouch.
Hey, Teresa, can you mute your...
Yeah, that one is 2 servings in a pouch. Okay, so we'll split a bag of those, okay? Yeah, I'll save your serving.
Okay, so sorry about that. So one way that we can, or one way that I've incorporated this assignment into my leadership class is I still have a few prompted questions I want them to answer, but then I ask them to show or display one object that represents their leadership, and that has been so great. I've learned a lot about my students' leadership through just these objects that they choose. So some of them, again, chose like awards. Some of them chose like a t-shirt that represents like a student organization they're a part of. Some of them have shown like their Bible, if they lead like a Bible study. So it's just another great way to get to know students, and you can kind of tie in the topic of your class like I did there with having them talk about how it represents them as a leader. So you could think of ways that you might tie that in with the course that you're teaching. Okay. So student feedback, students love that speech. I had someone share that it was like their favorite part of the class. And at least within my discipline, students really want to get to know each other in an online setting. I think they miss that camaraderie that they get in kind of a more traditional campus course. So any way that I can provide that sort of environment for them, I love to foster that. Okay, and then I wanted to talk briefly about a few different tools that we've used in our courses online, and I've used a couple of these in my on-campus courses as well, that are great for presentations, but are also good tools for building immediacy within the classroom. So the first tool is called Screencast-O-Matic, and this one is free to download, and it allows the student to display their screen, but also to be able to see the student when they're giving their presentation. And this helped us kind of overcome a barrier, which when we wanted them to show a presentational aid, talk over it, we wanted to also be able to grade them on delivery. So this kind of solved that one for us. We love using this, and it's pretty easy for students to download and understand. I just make an overview video of how to download it and how to get started on it, and students haven't had any issues with it. So that's a really fun one that we like to use. And then Powtoon is super fun. It is a little time consuming, so I like it a little bit more than my colleague does because she just doesn't want to take the time to do it as often as I do, or if she does, hers won't be as advanced as mine are. But these are basically cartoons that you can create. So if you are creative, or if you really just enjoy doing this kind of thing like I do, it is fun to create content for your course in a little Powtoon. So this one that I've screenshotted here was one where I was just kind of doing an overview. You can choose your avatar or your little character that you want in the cartoon. I tried to choose one that kind of looked like me, not a lot, but it looks like a teacher. And then it has like animations, like she waves, and you can choose music. And I like to do a voiceover over mine, but you don't have to. One of my colleagues, Laura O'Hara, she usually just has content on hers with text. But it's still a really fun way to engage the students. You could use it in a lot of ways. You could probably make one for reviewing content. I like to do it with just like overviews for the week of things that they're doing and to remember. But again, this one's just kind of fun, and I think students really enjoy it. It's really something different than what they normally have in online classes where, I mean, I think we've all probably taken online classes where they were not very engaging. It was all like, just read this chapter and post about it. So it's just a way to make your courses a little bit, interject some fun. And then this one is sort of just a cartoon strip that you can create. So it kind of is the same as the last one in that it just interjects a little bit of fun into the class. You can, again, create your own character or little avatar. And this is one I used about a year ago, and I had recently had a child, so I put my child in the photo you can see back there, and then my cat. So I like to, in my online classes, let them get to know me as well as I can, so they know that I'm a real person, I have a real life outside of work. So that's how I do that. Again, I use this in the same way. I just kind of have reminders on there. So I was letting them know by Wednesday what they needed to do, and then by Friday what they needed to do for the course. Just a reminder, or by Sunday, I'm sorry. So that one, this one is a free trial. I think you get like a trial period with so much time. I can't remember how much time offhand. And then they require you to purchase it. We've kind of found a loophole. My friend and I, or colleague, will, like, I downloaded it, and then when mine expired, she did the free trial. And you get so many, I think you get like 3 at a time that can be live. So we kind of worked around that. But if you like that one has a free trial. And then WebEx is another tool that my colleague and I use. She uses it a lot more than I do because she sometimes teaches a small group class, and she will host meetings on WebEx. She also likes to use it for office hours, so she can be kind of present for her students. Like, she has a designated time, and she uses WebEx to log in, and then students can join her WebEx and meet with her. This is actually my first time using Zoom, so I'm very new to Zoom, but I'm hoping to get a little more proficient with it and be able to kind of do the same thing and meet with students via Zoom. Okay, so that is all I have, but I did hope to hear about your experience with presentations or with any of the tools I've mentioned, or other tools that I should know about for presentations or building immediacy. So if anyone wants to chime in, I'd love to hear about your experience. I tried to incorporate video assignments in my online aging class, but had a bunch of students drop my class the first week. My online students are usually older, working multiple jobs, and are not always comfortable with technology. Are there suggestions for resources that I don't have to create myself to help students learn how to manage time and learn steps for how to learn to use technology? As far as steps for learning how to use technology, I just make a lot of videos myself. So I often, if there's a new tool that students, I'm going to require them to use, or if they're going to be using YouTube, I like to just make screencast videos. I use QuickTime, and I just show an overview of what I'm doing on my screen, and I walk them through the steps. And then I'll just email them that video. I think that's helpful sometimes. And you may be able to find some resources online that will help. I know previously lynda.com is now LinkedIn Learning. They have a lot of overview videos, and a lot of them you can even find on YouTube, kind of just overviews of how to use certain technology. But yeah, I have a different problem. Mine are all younger. I have trouble getting them to watch my videos, so that's my issue. If anyone has solutions for getting them to watch them, I try to make them as entertaining as possible, but on YouTube videos, I can see how many views I have, and sometimes they're discouraging. Okay, anyone else want to share their experience with presentations or other tools in the classroom? Many of our instructors use Zoom for office hours. Oh, that's good. I want to do that. And then we use Zoom for recording and also for live office hours or final course presentations. Our students have access to Zoom accounts to create those group videos or individual. Yeah, that's great. I really want to start using Zoom more. I'm glad that I had to download it and use it for this because I'm excited to become more proficient with it. Another thing we're hoping to do is create an online master's certificate program. A lot of our professors that teach in the master's program have been very resistant to change. I think they're just afraid to move to online. So we're gonna kind of start small, but Zoom was one way we were hoping to, it was a tool we were hoping to use in the classroom to kind of conference people in. Okay, and then how about questions? Does anyone have any questions? We use Zoom for live events, webinars, office hours, and Articulate for online module creation. Oh, I've never heard of Articulate. I should look that up. Okay. Any other, let's see, we use Zoom to broadcast college meetings. It works so well. Yeah, I feel like everyone at this conference has been really good at Zoom. Zoom, I need to get with it. Okay, Adobe Connect for meeting and collaborations. Yeah, another thing that I have done is Google Hangouts. I was doing Google Hangouts with students if I couldn't meet with them in person, and that works well. But only if they have a Google account, which they have to have YouTube, so that worked for me. We are not a Google school, but offer this option to students. We also use OneDrive and Office 365. Yeah, I wouldn't say that we're a Google school either. I feel like a lot of the tools I use, I don't know that our strategic learning department I don't think they would be against it, but I don't think they would like broadcast that as the best way to do things. I know that they prefer MediaSite over YouTube for some reason, but I still just think YouTube is the most user-friendly, at least for me, and for the students. And I like that it has the captioning feature, even though the captions aren't always 100% correct unless you go in and fix them yourself. Oh, and I've never heard of Teams. That must be just one I'm not aware of. Teams is new to use as well. Okay, so it's a newer one. Nice. And back to Cody Stone, I was looking at yours again. I could see how recording video would be really intimidating for an older person. I remember the first time I opened up, I was gonna like record a video of my grandma and I sitting side by side, and she freaked out when she saw the camera like was recording her. It just kind of scared her. So I wonder, I don't know what LMS you use, but you could also just do video, or not video, but audio recordings. I wonder if an older student would prefer audio recordings over being on camera. Because I know in Canvas you can do audio recording, or you can do that with VoiceThread as well. But a new technology may not be the best idea, but maybe if it's something built in, if you could walk them through the steps. Okay, how do you address captioning in your course? Do students caption their speeches for their classmates? So I mentioned this earlier, but our university doesn't, they do have the software, but it's not like for everyone to use. So if there is a student that needs captioning, they will caption all the videos for them. They'll have them like up in a day. But if not, I just like to use YouTube because when you record it, there's a way to have your videos caption you automatically without having to type it in. But it's not always accurate. So when I'm rewatching videos, sometimes it gets the wrong word. But overall, I think it's pretty good for people that like to read along. It isn't always grammatically correct, or it may have the wrong word substituted every once in a while.
Yeah, that's true. You have to be careful that a key word or jargon isn't incorrect in the captioning, because it can make a world of difference.
Right.
Says the guy who happens to be hearing impaired.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I wish our university was better about that. But so far, YouTube has been the best thing for me, just because they do have that option available, even though it's not great. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, the auto captions can be funny to read sometimes when they catch you wrong. Oh, that's good. Yeah. So if you take the time, especially if it's a video that you're going to use over and over again. So if it's like some kind of overview, like maybe you're going over the details of an assignment, you can upload a script, and you don't have to use that auto captioning features. Thank you, Alyssa. Yeah, that's a good point. So you can correct it or have your own script of a video. For me, that would be a little too time consuming unless I had a student that absolutely needed it for all the videos, because I make a lot of videos. I usually make a video the first day of every week, just kind of going over everything in the class. And I like to show my face in those videos so that I feel like that kind of lets them feel like they know me a little bit better and that I'm making an effort. And then towards like the middle of the week, I'll do like a midweek reminder of what they still have to complete. And then I might do screencast overviews going over assignments. I do mini lecture videos. So I wouldn't be able to survive if I had to go in and retype everything I recorded. But that is a really great idea for videos that I reuse over and over again.
Also showing your face, a lot of hearing impaired people can lip read, or at least sort of lip read, and that would be helpful to them too. And also, Google has a free app, Live Transcribe, for Android. You know, as far as I know, there's not the iPhone version, but you can plop it down on a table, and it does a pretty good job of essentially captioning what's being said.
Oh, for the student, so the student could download this like on their phones or?
Yeah, anybody could download it. It's free, and it actually they just added I don't know, a week or two ago, a whole bunch of languages as well. So if you've got someone speaking in Croatian, it supposedly will translate that and show you on the screen.
Wow. Yeah, and Cody, you're probably right. I've even had my on-campus students have shared with me that they don't read, so that's a new thing. I feel like that's a generational difference. A lot of my students prefer video to reading. So in a lot of my content for the course, I've switched to finding like TED Talks versus finding articles for them to read, because the content's more engaging and they're more likely to watch a video than they are to read something that I post. So you're probably right. It is discouraging when I see the number of student views. Like maybe I have 30 students in a class and my video has like 7 views. And I'm like, oh, great. So I'm doing this for nothing. But you're probably right. They're probably more likely to watch the videos than to read the content. You know, it is time consuming. Cody asked, do you therefore put more work into creating videos than collecting written materials? I feel like I've been teaching a lot of the courses that I teach for a long time. They haven't, I mean, I get a new one every now and then, but a lot of my classes just kind of stay constant. So I have a lot of the content already in written materials. So I've just been working to slowly kind of replace things as I go or find new content via video versus I always try to find new content for the classes, but I've been trying to find more video content than written. So do any of you give or have a presentation assignment in your courses?
While they're thinking about that, it's interesting. One of the things that some of the places I've been, students do a terrible job with presentations, and we don't do enough to help them give good presentations. And, you know, they may have great ideas, but if they can't communicate it, what good is the idea? I don't think we do enough of that.
Yeah. And we've been doing it for probably 5 years now, and I've seen some bad ones. And it's just so funny, the things that students don't even think about when they're recording their setting. Like they may have something really unprofessional behind them. I had a student who had like boxes of Keystone Light pasted on the wall behind him, and he was trying to give a presentation in my leadership class. And it's like, are you serious? Like your credibility just went way down. Or I've had students like sit on their bed and it's really awkward because you can tell they're like relaxed in their bed while they give their presentation. or things like they just don't wear shoes, like if they're standing in the background and sort of, well, this would be for Com 210 because we require them to stand and dress professionally, and they'll be barefoot or not have shoes on because they're in their home, which makes sense, but that's just been kind of one of the silly, quirky things that have happened. But yeah, I think it is challenging to do presentations online, and you really have to let them know of your expectations. I think for some students, it makes them more anxious than doing them in person because of the technology piece. And I think for other students, it's a relief that they don't have to be in front of their classmates giving a presentation. So for classes other than the public speaking class, I allow my students to just record it to their computer without an audience. So I think for some people that kind of alleviates some of that stress. This semester is the first time I'm trying it, and I'm expecting it to be a headache. Yeah. Is that for your online aging class, Cody? I think maybe with the online aging class, if you do like a screencast overview yourself, kind of walking them through the steps of how to record a presentation and then how to upload it, that might make it a little easier just so they can watch your video and kind of see the steps. Oh, wow, that's interesting. Only students who are trying for an A or A minus are required to complete the presentation. So they can just say, I'm happy with a B, I'm just not going to do the presentation. Okay, and then going back up. Ooh, they get to discuss and analyze a serial killer in your social psychology class. That sounds really fun.
Kendra, this is Ramona. They usually do have a good time. They're looking forward to that particular activity. A lot of my students really don't like to, they get nervous when they have to present, and I completely understand that. So I iterate to them how important it is for them to write their script, for them to read it several times, and if they need to look at themselves in the mirror, actually practice it for 1 or 2 times. However, time is a factor for many of them. So a lot of them do it last minute, and you usually can tell, but they do say that they have enjoyed the activity.
Yeah, so many students suffer from communication apprehension or speech anxiety. And I know I always want to help them. Those are good tips, though, having them practice it. I think practice, like feeling prepared, is a really great way to kind of overcome that. Like the more prepared you can be, the better. Yeah, and just taking deep breaths and knowing you're all kind of in it together. That's what I tell them. Like everyone's rooting for you, because sometimes they can have some really negative self-talk. So I think just trying to build them up a little bit is helpful. Plus, what's fun is they have such an interesting topic to talk about. So it would be fun to share that information. Yeah, I use presentations in all of my online classes, regardless of the topic, because I think it's really nice. I feel like I get to know the students better when they present something. And even in my on-campus courses, I actually, I just had research talks in my on-campus course. They had to read a research article and then basically share it with the class. So I don't have them have a visual aid. They just kind of have to stand up there and give a quick overview of the article that they read. But I forget where I was even going with that. Yeah, I lost it. But yeah, so I think presentations are so important. Oh, I remember. So I feel like I get to know, especially some of the more introverted students in class that don't normally raise their hand, or they're not as vocal in the class. Seeing their presentation in class, I feel like, wow, you've talked more than you have all semester, and I feel like I know you a little bit better. And on campus, I try to get to know them by asking them like a question of the day, like what was your worst job experience, or what's your favorite thing to eat, or just silly stuff to get to know them. But yeah, the presentations definitely help bring them out a little bit. And in online class, I think it's imperative to see everyone's faces, because otherwise it just feels like they're working in a silo or alone. So I love to create kind of more of a community online. I think students hate posting on like required posting. So I don't always require them to give feedback, but I encourage it. So it's really nice when they do comment on someone's video and they'll say like, it's really great to meet you. And I also, something they have in common, they'll like share it, or they'll say it's really cool that you won that award. So I really enjoy having presentations or videos for them to share them and watch each other's. In my health communications course, my students create a sidewalk campaign to create a lot of PSAs for this course, building them forward in their final project of the sidewalk campaign. That one is also fun. That sounds really fun.
Yes, this is Loretta, and I hope you can hear me. I just wanted to say, as far as the presentations, whenever I teach my physiological psychology course, there is a final project and presentation that I have students to do, and it's to video themselves for no more than 5 minutes. And I have different topics, but the last one was on stress in the workplace. And they had to do as if they were doing a presentation on how to reduce stress in the workplace. And one of the best ones I had no idea. I thought this lady was actually a hairstylist. And it came out that she's an actual barber. And she filmed herself at her workplace with one of her clients. And the clients came in and she didn't know how she wanted her hair cut. So they started from scratch. Okay, well, how do you want your hair cut? Do you want this style? Do you want this style? And she would stop and she'd say, you see the stress I'm going through? It was one of the best presentations that I had in that class. So,
Yeah.
but like I say, with some, it's amazing to see, like you say, all of the stuff that's in the background, you know, the beer, the game going in the background, and, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Or sometimes their pet, like they have a dog that just won't stop barking or something.
Oh yeah. Mine won't bark, but sometimes he'll get up on the desk when I'm sitting here. It's like, come on.
Yeah. Oh, that happens to me when I make my videos for my students. Like my son will bust in the room and jump on my lap and want to be in the video. But students usually like that stuff. They love seeing your pets and your kids. And
oh yeah, because my grandson has come and not realizing that I'm taping something, and he'll come and he'll put rabbit ears over my head, you know, all kinds of stuff. So I don't edit it out. I let it stay there.
I do too. Students love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Loretta, back to your really fun example of the barber. Some students, they really have fun with it, and you can tell they work really hard on their videos, and that makes it so great. And then sometimes it's like they're like, uh-oh, this is due tonight at 10 p.m. or at midnight. Let me just crank it out. And it's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And I had another one too from a semester before. I think this was in 2018. And I don't know how this student did it. I think she said she has a YouTube account. And with her video she did on, I don't remember what type of stress it was, but ever so often she went and she changed. She changed her eyeglasses. She changed to a different wig. And I mean, the class was just falling out. We got such a kick out of it. I mean, I said, okay, who are you going to be now? You know, she come with a red wig on. She had a blonde colored wig. She had a black wig, and whatever she had, the dress or whatever she had on matched, and her eyeglasses also matched.
Wow, yeah, yeah. I love it when students get into their assignment.
Oh, definitely. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
And I asked with her permission if I could keep that video just to show whenever I'm teaching that class and say, okay, you know, we can have fun also in psychology.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it was really entertaining.
Yeah, I had a student once in her introductory video, which it scared me because she did the whole thing while she was driving. Yeah, which I don't recommend, but
No.
she had a passenger like hold her phone up while she drove, and she would just occasionally turn and look at the camera and talk to the camera. And I'm like, keep your eyes on the road. Like, it scared me the whole video. I was like, do not do this. But
yeah, some things you don't want to see on video.
yeah. She tied it in with her talk though, because she talked about how she drives a lot. But it was like, wow, it was scary to watch.
Yeah, pull over and say, okay, yeah, I drive a lot and continue to drive.
Okay, is there any other questions or anything I can try to help with, or maybe someone else can help with your courses? I love hearing about other people's experiences. Another thing I'm hoping to do more is do more community involvement in my classes. I think it's easier in my on-campus courses to have them do like volunteering. I had them do like they did some presentations in the community that were focused on resume workshops and cover letters, and just helping people in the community that needed like career search skills. And then we also did a job fair in the community. But I find that things like that are just harder to move online. So that might be something, if any of you have experience using service learning in your online class, I'd love to hear how you do this. Action research projects are almost always engaging and thought-provoking.
Kendra, this is Ramona. One example that I've heard of for a social work chorus that was all online, the students were tasked with selecting a community engagement endeavor that they wanted to get into. And what they did was, by participating in that, they took pictures during the process. Of course, they listed what the purpose was for that particular community activity, and then they took pictures and put them into a PowerPoint presentation and discussed it in that way.
Okay. Yeah, I teach an interviewing class and I teach a leadership class, and I'm really wanting to do some sort of project where they do some service learning, or I like for them to give back. I like for them to learn enough that they can like teach someone else and be kind of helpful in the community. But yeah, I could probably do something where they volunteer and then share their experience via maybe a presentation?
Right. I think it needs to be something that they're really interested in.
Mhm.
In that way, I think they'll pick up the concept or the theory that is being taught, or they'll be able to apply it. But it has to be something that they're really interested in. And there are different topics out there that they could most certainly address with that. As I did see where someone mentioned that they had a service learning course, but if you find certain things like analyzing whether or not if websites like Bumble and eHarmony, if they're effective in building relationships or having someone to look at their character trait, they would be interested in it simply because of the software itself.
Mhm.
But as they're actually completing the project, they research it, they're looking at the data and different things. They're not realizing that they're actually applying the theory that they learned. But I think the key part in that is to have them to select a project that they care about or they're interested in, or selecting software that they're very interested in. I think that's the key factor.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I do the same thing when I have my students pick their articles for their research talk. I'm like, don't just pick any boring old article. Like, make sure it's something that you actually find interesting, because it'll be more interesting when you share it with us if it's something that you are interested in. So that's great. Okay, well, thanks so much, everybody. We are out of time. Thanks for your feedback.
Oh, and Kendra, this is great. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Bob.
And I hope our participants will join us for the very last session in a few minutes so we can give the presenter a great send-off. So hope to see you there.
Okay, thanks.